If you're thinking about buying a brand new home in St. Albert, this video is going to save you a lot of time, money, and frustration. Before you walk into a show home and fall in love with something that may or may not actually fit your budget or lifestyle, there are a few really important things that you need to understand. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about buying new construction in St. Albert, where the new homes are, the types of homes available, what they actually cost, and at the end of the video, I'll cover the most common mistakes that I see buyers make, so make sure to stick around. Hi, my name is Evan Coughlin, and I'm a licensed realtor here in St. Albert. I also service the Greater Edmonton Area. If you have any questions at all about buying or selling a home and would like me to help you, feel free to reach out. My phone number will be on the screen and full contact information is in the description. If you find this video helpful, be sure to click the like button and subscribe for more content like this coming soon. Let's get into the video. So why St. Albert? If you've watched any of my other videos, you already know I'm a big fan of St. Albert, and for good reason. I've lived here my entire life, and St. Albert has that small city community feel, but you're also right next to Edmonton with all the major city amenities. The schools here are excellent. There's an incredible trail system along the Sturgeon River, lots of green space, and overall it's a very family-friendly city. So why buy new construction? Why do people choose to buy a brand new home? For some, it's simply the idea of being the first people to live in the home and make memories there. Everything is untouched, clean, and modern. A lot of buyers also want the modern feel of open concept layouts, higher ceilings, larger kitchens, and they're just not interested in renovating an older home to get there. Customization is another big reason. You might want to choose your flooring, your cabinets, your tile, your exterior colors, maybe add some stone or brick to the outside. And new construction can allow you to do that right from the start. You also get the benefit of lower maintenance early on and warranty coverage, which gives lots of buyers peace of mind. That said though, new construction is not for everyone, and we're going to talk about that later in the video. Should you hire a realtor? Here's the honest truth. You do not need a realtor to buy a new home, but working with one doesn't cost you anything, and there's lots of ways that a good realtor can add value to your experience. There is a misconception that you will get a better deal if you don't work with a buyer's agent and go to the builder directly, and that is simply not true. The commission to sell the property is already set aside by the builder regardless, and this does not impact the purchase price of your new home. Here are a few of the ways that I add value to my clients when they're buying a new build. Number one is builder selection. Not all builders are equal, and the quality of materials and workmanship can vary drastically. Selecting the wrong builder for your new home can be the difference between an amazing experience with years of happy ownership and a decision that you regret because you have endless problems popping up all the time and spend hours on the phone with warranty trying to get them fixed. As someone who's experienced in the St. Albert market, I know which builders have strong reputations and prioritize quality, and I will happily steer clients away from certain builders that I would never personally buy from to ensure that you are happy with your purchase long term. Number two is pricing and negotiation. As a realtor, I have access to the MLS with market data and comparable sales records that we will use to negotiate and ensure that you get a fair price for your new home. On top of just the sale price, I also help my clients negotiate on the extras like increased appliance credits, free upgrades, or addressing post-inspection deficiencies. Number three is unbiased guidance. Builder reps work for the builder, and I work for you. If something doesn't make sense, I'm happy to recommend walking away and finding something else, because my goal with every single client is to be a true advocate for them. After all is said and done, the only way that my business can naturally grow is through referrals from happy clients. Number four is a seamless process. If you're planning on selling a home to move into your new one, working with the same realtor for both the purchase and the sale makes the entire process 10 times smoother and less stressful. We'll plan ahead and coordinate the timing of both transactions so your move is as seamless and stress-free as possible. One last quick note before we move on. If you want realtor representation, it's very important to involve your realtor early in the process. If you go to a show home and begin the process without a realtor, many builders will not allow you to add a realtor as your representation later. So on your first show home visit, bring your realtor with you to get registered with them as your agent, and you're good to go. All right, so where are the new homes? Let's talk about which communities you have to choose from. Starting off with Riverside. Riverside is my personal favorite. It's the most established of the newer communities, and it's very centrally located, which makes getting around the city really easy. You've got quick access to amenities, great access in and out of St. Albert for commuting, and you're within walking distance to the Sturgeon River trail system, which is a huge part of St. Albert's charm. There's also still plenty of room for this community to expand, so you get that balance of established and growing. Cherot. Cherot is the newest community in St. Albert. It opened in 2024 and has a really unique French-inspired architecture style. Steeper roof lines, rustic stone, and open gables add a very different look compared to other areas. Because it's so new though, there's not a whole lot over there yet. There are proposed future amenities like a high school and a large recreation center, but at this stage there's no approved final plan or timeline with the city, so this is more of a long-term play. However, once it's built out, there's strong potential for appreciation here, and I could see this community becoming one of the most desirable in the city long-term. Jensen Lakes. Jensen Lakes is St. Albert's lake community. Residents get access to a private lake and beach, which is managed through a homeowners association. There's a wide range of homes here, from higher-end starter homes to full lakeside estate properties, and the community is well connected with schools and amenities already in place. Erin Ridge North. Erin Ridge North is the furthest north community in St. Albert. There are lots of builders operating here, and the community is expanding quickly. One thing to be aware of though is access. Being the furthest north means you are on the opposite side of the city from Edmonton. So if you plan to commute there on a regular basis, you will have to trek across the entire city down St. Albert Trail to get there, and traffic can get a little congested during peak times. However, there are some beautiful trails within this community and great schools all close by. You're also right behind Costco, Rona, and a bunch of other shops. Nouveau Northridge. Nouveau tends to be the most affordable entry point for new construction in St. Albert. A lot of the homes here are zero lot line homes, meaning the house is built right on one side of the property line, and so you only have yard space on the other side. However, if you don't want a zero lot home, there are some conventional lots available in the newer phases. It's a bit out of the way right now, and walking trails are limited, but that will improve as the area develops. And like I said, this is the most affordable option in St. Albert. All right, now we're going to talk about the types of new homes available. In St. Albert, new construction generally falls into a few categories. Townhomes are often the most affordable option. They're great starter homes. You get your own entrance and often a private yard space. Many of them also come with a garage. Right now, these can be found for as low as $415,000. Duplexes, or semi-attached, are essentially two single-family homes joined together at the hip. They're a great option if you want to have the feel of a detached home without the higher price point, and the floor plans can be surprisingly spacious. New duplexes start at around $475,000. If you don't want to be connected to a neighbor and are looking for a detached home, there are two types. The first one is laned homes. A laned home typically comes with a parking pad in the back lane with no garage, which allows the builders to offer them at fairly competitive prices. Those cement pads are ready-to-go foundations for your future garage, which you can build right away and potentially add to the cost of your mortgage if needed, or you can hold off and build one when you're ready. Laned homes have some great curb appeal, and they often have plenty of front-facing windows, which allows a ton of natural light into the space. And the floor plans can be very spacious. These start at around $450,000. The second option for detached is what's called a front drive home. These are typically more desirable, but they do come at a higher price point. Front drive means you'll get a front attached garage with a driveway. These homes are typically built on larger lots with more yard space because you don't have a parking pad in your backyard. Front attached homes come in many different sizes, but often offer bigger floor plans, expansive layouts, and more customization options. These start at around $550,000. Now let's talk about the two main options that you have when buying a new home, and that's choosing between a spec home or a pre-sale custom build. A spec home is a home that a builder starts building before they have a buyer. These are great for people who want the keys sooner and don't want to wait through a full build timeline. Completed or near complete spec homes are often priced lower than building the exact same home from scratch. And that's because builders have a lot of capital tied up in these projects, and they often want to free that up and move on to the next one. The trade-off though is limited or sometimes no customization, depending on the stage of construction. If you catch a spec home early enough, you won't necessarily get to alter the floor plan, but you can choose finishes like flooring, tile, cabinets, and some upgrades. Most builders do a great job choosing finishes on specs, but if you're very particular, this might not be the best route unless you find something that you love as is or are willing to add your own touches once you move in. One important note, if you see a spec home listed on Realtor.ca, the price that you see advertised will include GST. However, builder websites sometimes show pricing before GST, so if a price looks too good to be true, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. With a custom or pre-sale home, you'll usually start at a bit of a higher price point, but you get a lot more flexibility. You will get to choose your lot, whether you want a corner lot or to be backing on a pond with a walkout basement, or maybe you just want to make sure you're on a quieter street. The choice is yours. You'll usually pick a base floor plan with the builder as a starting point and then customize from there by moving walls, enlarging rooms, adding offices, stuff like that. You'll also get to choose the exterior style and colors. Maybe you want a farmhouse style, or maybe you prefer prefer the modern look with the sharp angled roof lines. It's important to note though that each community has its own set of architectural guidelines to maintain consistency, so you can't always get exactly what you want. Some communities, like Riverside, are more flexible than others. An example of a community with strict architecture guidelines would be Cherot. They require steep roof lines, dark muted siding colors, open gables, and black window frames to maintain that French-inspired aesthetic throughout the community. Interior selections, though, is where buyers really get excited, and you can do just about anything you want. Flooring, cabinets, countertops, tile, and finishes throughout the home are yours to choose. If you go the custom or pre-sale route, just make sure that you have time. If the lot's ready to build on, you're usually looking at an 8 to 12 month timeline depending on the builder. And along the process, you will need to make time to attend design center appointments and construction walkthroughs. There can also be delays as construction progresses. Now we're going to talk about builder incentives. You may see builders advertising incentives like free basement development, free garage, or temporary rate reductions, and these can be valuable, but they're not truly free. If you choose not to accept the free incentive, you can usually negotiate a price reduction instead. I always look at this in detail with my clients to compare value to value and discuss what makes the most sense for them. Price drop or free incentive. Appliance credits are common, especially on spec homes. They're usually around $2,500, which realistically doesn't cover more than a fridge and a stove these days. However, with the right negotiation strategy, we can sometimes get these credits increased. Some builders include full appliance packages, which is great, although they're usually pretty basic. If you choose to, you can upgrade the ones that you want to and just cover the difference in price. Now we're going to talk about new home warranty. Every new home in Alberta must come with a mandatory new home warranty, and it looks like this. 1 year for labor and materials. This will cover problems with flooring, trim, cabinets, and paint where materials or labors were defective. It does not cover wear and tear. 2 years for distribution systems. This covers defects in plumbing, electrical, heating, and ventilation. 5 years for the building envelope. This covers defects in the shell of the home, so the roof, the exterior walls, windows, and doors. And lastly, 10 years for major structural components. This will cover foundation and structural defects in the framing that affects the home's integrity. Now, what's very important to understand is that these warranties are provided by third-party warranty companies, not the builder directly. And just because a home has a warranty does not mean it was built well. Builder selection, as I mentioned earlier, is absolutely critical because even though you might have warranty coverage, claims can be stressful and very time-consuming. And after the warranty expires, you're on your own. Now we're going to talk about hidden costs with new construction. There are 8 costs that buyers often forget about. Number 1 is landscaping deposit. Most communities will require a landscaping deposit upon possession. This money is held by the developer until your landscaping is completed, and it's usually $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the community. Number 2 is the landscaping itself. Builders typically only complete rough grade. Final grading, sod, trees, and shrubs are on you to complete. And some communities will have minimum requirements for trees and shrubs that you will need to meet in order to get your deposit back. This can run anywhere from $5,000 and up depending on the size of your lot, the community requirements, and what you want to do. Number 3 is the fence. Your new home doesn't usually come with a full fence. The cost for this typically around $80 per linear foot, and then $500 for the gates on the side. The total cost will depend on the size of your lot, but for an average size 26 pocket, you're probably looking at about $7,500 total. The good news though is that a fence benefits both you and the neighbors on the other side of it. So if you wait for your neighbors to move in on both sides, they'll usually be willing to split the cost of the shared portion. Number 4 is window coverings. These are rarely included, and without them, your home can feel a bit like a fishbowl, or the sun can wake you up at 5 a.m. in the middle of the summer. The cost of this one will of course depend on how many windows you're working with and how big they are, but it's usually around $3,000 and up, depending on the home. Number 5 is air conditioning. We don't have that many super hot days during our summers here, but when we do, they are really hot, and many people like to have AC. This should run you around $4,000 to $5,000, but is completely optional. If you don't have the budget for it, a simple portable AC unit in your bedroom is usually enough so you can get a good, cool sleep. Number 6 is appliances. As mentioned earlier, sometimes you'll get a small credit, and we can usually negotiate an increase in that credit amount. But a full appliance setup with a fridge, stove, dishwasher, washer, and dryer will usually run you at least $6,000, sometimes more. Number 7 is inspection. Lots of people think that because it's a brand new home, an inspection is not necessary. However, I always recommend to my clients to get a thorough inspection before taking possession. This will catch things that you never see in a normal walkthrough. I work with a very thorough home inspector named Jeremy, who always catches a pretty sizable list of items on every new build that I sell. We take that list and we go back to the builder, asking them to fix the deficiencies that were identified. As long as you're working with a good builder, they will address them. The typical cost for this inspection is from $550 to $700, but this cost usually pays for itself in the deficiencies that you won't have to deal with down the road. And lastly, number 8 is lawyer fees. You will need to hire a lawyer to facilitate the closing of the transaction. They're going to be responsible for transferring the funds, registering the title, and assisting you with the final legal paperwork. This will typically cost $1,600 to $2,000. Some builders will cover basic legal fees if you use their lawyer, but that decision is completely up to you. All right, common buyer mistakes. The number one biggest mistake that I see buyers make is falling in love with show homes and not realizing how many upgrades are in there. Show homes are the fully upgraded Cadillac version, built to impress buyers with sometimes over $100K in upgrades from the base spec. When you get quoted a base price to build the same model, or the builder rep says, oh yeah, this model starts at X, this does not include any of the upgrades you see in the show home. If you're planning to buy a more basic spec home, be sure to tour a few of them first so you know what you can realistically expect. The number 2 mistake is skipping inspection. We just talked about this, but addressing the deficiencies before you move in will save you a ton of headache later. Number 3 is not planning the sale of their home correctly. New construction projects can be delayed for many reasons, and you don't want to sell too early and be left without a home while you wait for your keys. On the flip side though, you also don't want your new home to be ready to go and you can't move in yet because you need to sell first. Builders will only wait a certain period of time for you to sell before they put that home on the market and look for a new buyer. A good realtor will sit down with you and plan this out well in advance so that you don't run into any of these issues. Number 4 is ignoring resale value. New homes are best for buyers who plan to stay for 5 years or more. If you decide to sell sooner than that, when you list your home, you are directly competing with brand new homes right down the street, and you may not get the price that you'd hope for. In the last couple of years, people have gotten really good prices for these resale newer homes because the market's been going up every year, but we can't guarantee that that's going to keep happening. Additionally, unlike an older home in an established community where you can do renovations or upgrades to increase its value, with a new home, there's not as much you can do besides finishing the basement or completing your landscaping. Number 5 is not preparing for seasonal delays. Driveways, landscaping, exterior paint, and concrete parging require warm, dry weather to be completed. And we live in Alberta, where the weather doesn't always cooperate. So if you take possession of a home in the winter or early spring, chances are pretty high that you won't have a driveway poured before you get the keys. So who is new construction best for? New construction is great for buyers who want something modern, low maintenance, and plan to stay put. But there are a few trade-offs. You'll be surrounded by ongoing construction for the first bit with fewer mature trees and a bit of inconvenience early on as the community establishes itself around you. If you want a quiet, fully established backyard on day one, a resale home might be a better fit. Now you know what to expect when buying a brand new home in St. Albert. And if you're thinking about buying or selling in St. Albert and want to talk through your options, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to help you out. Contact information on the screen and in the description below. Be sure to leave a like if you found this video helpful and subscribe. I'll be doing more content like this soon. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers.